all okay. That's gonna go away. Just gotta pull this up on here and go back. Hello, everybody. Gail and I are here today talking about Rachel's Garden and Anna's Return by Marta Perry. Just let me get set up here. Make sure I'm on the right spot. Oh, wait, is this actually? No, I'll go back to my channel. So yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to do the scheduled live. I tried, and I'm just not succeeding. So here we go. There's that. Okay, turn the volume down here so I hear myself talk. Okay, sorry I'm chewing gum. I'm having post-COVID cough. It's so annoying. My gosh, it's like I'm always coughing. All right, this is on so I can see the chat. All right, we're good. We'll wait a few minutes in case anyone wants to join us. But yes, this is books 2 and 3 of the Pleasant Valley series. There's actually 7 of these in this series. We've read Leah's Choice first, and then next in line was Rachel's Garden, and then this is the third one, right? Anna's Return is third. Then there's like 4 more.
Yeah.
So wait a few minutes and then we'll get started. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Look how different that is compared to that. Like the quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lighting.
I don't know about where you guys are, but it's hot here. My word. Feels like 100 like every day. Heat index of like 100.
Yeah. It is hot.
Oh, so
It is hot.
I'm trying to say I wore like the coolest thing I could think of. Oh, I don't like seeing this over here. It's annoying.
Makes you nervous.
I don't like seeing my like talking about Lancaster, but I like seeing myself on there. So speaking of Lancaster, in 2 weeks I'll be there. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Or I'll be in Lancaster on July 2nd. Doing a whole fun morning. We're taking a girlfriend, my future sister-in-law, my mom and my dad, and then a friend Christine. We're all gonna go to Kitchen Kettle Village. They have like this tasting tour. It's like a picnic tour, so you get to go to all these little stations and taste and sample.
How fun.
I know, I'm so excited.
Oh my goodness.
And then we're going to
You find the most fun things to do.
and then we're going to this I did like a survey on the channel about what tour company do you want me to use to do like a tour. And this one called Locale, it's L-O-K-A-L 1, like that's who people wanted me to try. So they're the more expensive of them, but I thought, well, I'll do it. So there's this thing called Tour and Meals with Amish Family, and you actually meet at Discover Lancaster. They take you on like a little mini bus, your group, to an Amish farm, and they talk about like the Amish farmlands along the way. So that's part of it, is the actual tour. And you get there and you're actually in an Amish house and they serve you food. We did that one time.
Yeah, we did.
That was very fun.
That was such good food.
Yes. So yes, I'm looking forward to that food. So we'll eat there and get to walk around their farm a little bit. And I'm going to try a video. They said it's okay to video, just not their faces, which I never do anyway, unless they say, I don't care. So that'll be fun. That's what we're doing that Saturday. So we're getting there like Friday night. We're driving. I'm like hitting the ground running like at 7:30 in the morning. We're taking off. So no time
what
like
else
the present.
do you do?
I
That's
know.
right. Yes,
I know.
right.
So I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
How long have we been on here? 3 minutes? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll get started. And we actually have a book club discussion guide that we can use on martaperry.com. So we're going to do that instead of... Although we can give you the basics a while. Let's go over like where we are and who's who. So first book was Leah's Choice. And Leah was a teacher in the Amish community. Leah Byler. And for 10 years she was a teacher. She was perfectly happy being single. And then this new Amish widow named Daniel came into the scene with 3 children who were her pupils. It took a long time for them to find common ground and fall in love, but they did. It's a very, very quick version of what happened. Leah's best friend was Rachel Brand, and who is the actual main character in this first book we're going to talk about, Rachel's Garden. So she had a twin named Johnny who left the Amish order at 18. He was in love with Leah, they both were in love with each other. He left. He wanted her to go with him, and she didn't want to. She wanted to stay with her Amish community. Long story short, he comes back to the area to work at a clinic for the genetic diseases that are often common in the Amish children. So he's nearby. He's English. They, reconciled as friends. Rachel and Johnny reconnected, but Johnny and Rachel's parents did not want to see him. They felt like it was wrong because they wanted him to come back to the Amish faith, which he doesn't do. Anyway, that's who the main characters are mainly. And then in that book also, we have Leah's little sister, Anna, who's, how old was she then? Like 15, 16?
Yeah.
Starting her Rumspringen, asking a lot of questions and about why they do things. More of a rebellious streak. At the end of that book, of Leah's choice, Anna leaves the Amish faith to explore the English world. So that's how it ends. In Leah's choice, Leah and Daniel fall in love. Rachel and Johnny have a good relationship. Leah and Johnny are friends. He's working at the clinic, and then Anna leaves. So, but her and Anna leave on good terms. I would say Leah and Anna, they have a conversation. Anna tells her she'll be in touch. That's how it ends with Anna. So then we go to Rachel's Garden, which is the second book in this series. And do a couple facts real quick, and then we'll get into the questions. So Rachel, in this book, in the very beginning of the book, we found that Rachel's widowed. She lost her husband Ezra about almost a year before the beginning of this book. He fell. His best friend Gideon was with him looking at, I guess, a barn or something. They were somewhere looking at something.
Yeah.
And Ezra fell, kind of landed on somewhat, I think, on Gideon. Gideon was injured, but Ezra died. Left her with 3 kids, Becky, Joseph, and Mary. Do you know how old they were? I can't remember how old they were. I mean, Mary and Joseph were school age, I think.
Yes.
So Mary and Joseph was school age, and Becky was little.
2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah. So that's their situation, and then the first thing we see is Gideon coming to talk to Rachel because Ezra wanted to build her a greenhouse, and Gideon builds a lot of things, so he was going to hire Gideon to build it for Rachel before he died. Gideon comes back and says, I still want to do this for you. She's resistant at first. And she starts getting all this pressure from everybody around her to tell her what to do now that her husband's died. Sell your farm, lease your farm. Everybody's like pressuring her to get rid of the farm, even with her parents, all sorts of pressure. She's a bit stubborn. She's like, nope, I'm not moving. I'm going to build a nursery, and Gideon's going to build it for me. That's how we start the book. One thing, do you notice the mud sale?
Yeah.
She went to the mud sale to sell her stuff, so she loves, her thing is gardening. She loves gardening. She has a green thumb. So she's very good at it. It was fun because I like, you and I both like to garden. She's probably I'm more flower, she's more like food. And you're good at it. You guys are good at it.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and then her husband does bees too, so that's really cool. Honey and bees. So this is one reason we're friends, because we like that sort of thing together. But yeah, I enjoy the flower talk because I enjoy that sort of thing. So she starts going to markets to sell her product to make money for her children. That's kind of the main thing of what's going on. And in the meantime, her late husband's oldest brother, Isaac, is pressuring her. He's very bossy, wants to tell her what to do. She's resistant to it. She doesn't know what to do. She's still grieving.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to make decisions.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was handled well. Like, the grieving process and getting to that point where you can look back at it with happy feelings and not be in that deep, like, grief.
Yeah.
I thought that book did a good job of kind of talking about the grief process and stuff. Okay, so that's really all. And though, Gideon's building this great house, they get closer with the kids and everything, and Gideon's brother Aaron and his wife Lavina take her to market with them. Gideon's supporting her in what she wants to do, but everybody else kind of is not. She's struggling with everybody telling her what she should do, and she doesn't know what to do. That's part, and she does pray a lot, ask for guidance, so. That's all really. Okay, so we're going to bring up some questions here. You can read them. It's fine.
Okay. Do you want me to just start with the beginning? Okay. The first question is, can you understand the difficulty Rachel has in facing life without her husband? And have you ever struggled to deal with a major life change like this? If so, how did God and other people help you?
We've never had like a spouse die, but we've had a friend who had a spouse die. Leah, but I mean, I've had big losses of my grandparents and my mother-in-law, and my mother-in-law died of cancer. It was pretty awful, so that was hard. It's hard to face the future without a big person that has been in your life just gone. It's very difficult. So, but I mean, leaning into God's word and His truth and His love and His grace, and then staying with people who also can encourage you that way, I think is critical. It's easy to get lost in the grief and then you can start telling yourself the wrong things. So.
And like Rachel, she did. I think after a while, it seemed like the more struggles that came against her or people coming against her, it seemed like she started falling back on God's word, praying scripture, and so that's also, you know, what we need to do, or what I found to do as well, is you know, you just grow closer and you stand more on those promises of that God has given us, instead of ourself. When everything goes well, we just we're like, yeah, thanks God, we appreciate it, but we really pull on his word.
Right. The dark times and the hard times is when you, because sometimes have the best relationship with him, fellowship.
Okay, number 2 is Rachel finds herself hating to see Gideon because he reminds her too much of her husband's death. Do you feel this reaction is part of her grieving process, and how?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was natural.
Yeah.
I thought it was a natural reaction. She even admitted she should not feel this way. She struggled with that and didn't like the fact that she blamed Gideon or felt like mad at him for surviving when her husband didn't. And she knew that about herself. And so one thing I do want to bring up, that she went to talk to Bishop Mose, who I love him.
Oh, I know.
He's like a rock star elder. He's awesome. He's just so wise. I just love him. He reminds me of L.M.A. Zook in the other books that I read, but like the male version.
Well, and I love how his approach is literally just letting you answer your own questions or figure out your own doubts, instead of giving you advice and telling you what to do. He asks you, you know, he makes you realize in your heart what you know is right.
Yeah, he's very insightful, so he says the right things to prod you to think. And
yes,
very
exactly.
Smart. But he said to her, when she told him she's having a hard time forgiving in general, you know, looking at Gideon, and he said, the Lord calls us to obedience, not feelings. And I was like, oh man, that's so good. Like, do what you're supposed to do. Like, go through the motions, and eventually your heart will heal, and God will heal that heart, and you can start feeling it.
Yeah,
I love that advice. Yeah. That was my favorite things I read the entire book, was that. That was
to act as if you've already forgiven him. Do what you would do if you had forgiven him, and then eventually it will happen. Yeah, that was great advice. Yeah, even in our own life.
I agree. It's hard to forgive. Yeah.
Especially something so extreme. I mean, I can't imagine, you know, losing a spouse, especially with young children.
I know.
You know, so that's tough.
It is tough.
Okay, number 3 is Rachel realizes that everyone around her has a different opinion as to what she should do. Has this ever happened to you, and how did you deal with it?
Not this extreme circumstance, but I will say, when Dan and I were engaged, we grew up in Pennsylvania. We lived like a few miles apart. Our whole family was there. He wanted to go get his master's in geology, and we were looking at a few different places. And one was in New Mexico, which I thought was like, that's so far, we're not gonna do that. And one was in Maryland, and we're like, probably definitely Maryland. And then we went with his mom. We went to visit both these places, and like we just knew that New Mexico was the place he was supposed to be. It was like, just we prayed about it, but we just could tell when we were there, everything was just clicking and great. Even though it was so far away, I was like, this is 2 years, we'll be fine. And we came back, went to Maryland. It was like the opposite feeling. We were like, no, it just doesn't feel. It wasn't right. And so my mother-in-law, who ended up being best friends. I mean, I loved her dearly, but we clashed at first because we were both very headstrong and very opinionated, and like we were just clashing about this because she was like, you should do this, and I'm like, no, we should do this, and Dan felt like he was in the middle, so we ended up actually get counseling, and it was just a wise thing to do, because he's like, you guys have to make decisions for yourself, but you also need to respect your elders who know things too. So that was the biggest one I could think of, where it was like, I was like, I didn't know what to do because I was being pulled like different directions and other things, and that it was a very quick engagement, quick marriage that also played into factor. That's not a really big deal, but when you feel like you're doing something right and they're like, wait, but this, and so there is some truth to that, like to listen to people who are older and wiser than you, and I feel like we're on the other end now that we're parents of like young adults.
Yeah.
Now we're on the other end of trying to give them advice that maybe they don't want.
Yeah.
Helping them make their decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. And the stark contrast with the reasons that they were giving their opinions, because Isaac, it was completely greed driven. Yeah. Because he had
control issues.
He wanted that property for his own son. Yeah. So he was not thinking of what she wanted and what was best for her. It was all about him.
Right.
And her father was completely different.
Protective,
And yeah. And so,
yeah. And then, like, I think Gideon was like, well, what does Ezra want you to do? Like, he said that a few times.
Yeah.
So then she's like, well, I don't know yet. I thought he wanted this. And he's like, I thought he wanted that. And,
Yeah. Yep.
okay.
Okay, number 4. The doubts Rachel feels about her ability to raise her children without her husband troubles her. Have you ever doubted your ability as a parent? And has God or other people helped you gain insight?
Yeah, every day. Or at least every week, it seems. Oh, yeah. I mean, I prayed that prayer, probably more than any other prayer I prayed is, give us wisdom to raise these children.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep. And, having lost her husband, I mean, there are so many times, and even like you said, daily basis, you really do come face to face with the fact that God has a man and a woman to be a mother and a father for children for a reason, because there's so many things that I add as a mother that my husband, he cannot do. And there's so many things that he can do as the father and pour into those children in different ways than I could never do.
Yep.
And so just realizing, yes, that it takes, I mean, having two is so much better for the children and so much easier on your own mind, because you doubt regardless, or
yeah, that's so much pressure. I just I've always admire single parents, because you're taking on two big roles, and so much pressure, and you probably do always feel like, am I guilty? I mean, I feel guilty as a parent with Dan's help.
Yeah,
I would imagine it'd be very difficult.
Yeah, I know I have a single mother that I work with, and trying to help her with some of her issues, because she has 2 daughters she's trying to raise, and it is just not a good situation. And she told me one day, which I didn't take very lightly, that the reason why I have such good children is because I have a husband, and which it is a huge help, but she completely negated everything that I do as a mother. So that was really hard, but it is true, because it did, it reminded me again, there are a lot of things that my husband can do and does do that I would not be able to, or don't have the heart to do. So,
yeah. Hi, Jimmy. Sorry you can't join us, but yeah, glad you can look later. Hope you're doing well. Hope your daughter's wedding planning is going well. It's exciting. Fun. Yeah, I think in the fall sometime.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, nice to hear from you, Jimmy.
Okay, number 5. Gideon is in despair because he survived when people he loved deal with this kind of tragedy.
Grace and forgiveness and trusting God's plan when it doesn't make sense. Oh, that's hard.
Right.
Like, I don't know about that personally. I've seen it happen. I've seen situations, tragic things happen when one person died and someone didn't.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of blame from people. People like to blame this or that, and that makes everything worse. So I think grace is really important in that situation.
Yeah.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining in. Did you get to read the books at all? Just let me know. We'll keep talking, but I'll look back when you're give a chance to answer.
Okay, and question number 6 is, the scripture verse for this story has always seemed a difficult one to me, tying God's forgiveness of us to our forgiveness of others. The Amish exemplify this particularly in their reaction to the Amish school shootings and their forgiveness of the shooter. Do you ever have difficulty in forgiving, and how do you cope with that?
Let's just move on. I'm just kidding. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Forgiving is hard. I honestly think that that's something that we are taught as Christians to do, that I do think is different what the world teaches you, for sure.
Yeah.
Because forgiving is really about trusting God and letting go of things that hurt you. You're not giving those people, you're not saying they're okay. You're saying, I'm going to forgive you, to let you go of this hold that's on me.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It can take, days, weeks, months, years to choose that. It's a choice.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I mean, without, think about scripture and wisdom, it'd be really hard to understand it. Personally, I think that's true.
Yeah. And Bishop Mose, with Gideon in particular, because there is a completely different dynamic in forgiving others and forgiving yourself.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, well, of course, long ago, and I have to remind myself a lot about that forgiveness of yourself when he did tell him, Bishop Mose, in a roundabout way, are you better than Jesus on the cross? Because he forgave us and gave his life for us, and we didn't deserve it. And do you think yourself better than him by holding on to your unforgiveness of yourself and of other people?
Such a wise thing to say.
It is, and sometimes you have to really sit there and grind that into your mind, because it's just like, that is true. That is pride, and you really do the freedom and forgiveness of others and yourself. It really, I think, plays a huge part in being able to grow and live in peace.
Yeah, and I think it's way harder to forgive yourself. I think the guilt that Gideon felt is so much harder, I think, to deal with and to forgive yourself than like someone else hurting you. That's just my opinion, but I think it's why it took him longer, because he just carried that so deeply and such a tragedy. So yes, I do think that for sure. I think you're right. I think it's harder, but if you're not doing it, you're denying something that we're told to do for a reason, and the example we have is the ultimate. Yeah. The ultimate in sacrifice and forgiveness. We talked about this a little bit before. Felt like this book is definitely about a forgiveness theme, and I think it's important. It's an important lesson. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. So Melissa, did you like the books, Melissa? Hi, Mom and Dad. Rachel's, which I messed this up.
Oh, that's okay. It was like I tore it to bits on my trip.
This is what we're talking about. Yes, I messed it up. So
no, it was already messed up.
So I think this was a good lesson. Yes, okay. In forgiveness, and I really thought that was nice. But I guess because I don't know why, but her and I both liked Anna's Return a little better. I think it's just a lot more intensity and like mystery and expectations and what's going to happen and is he going to come back, like this Pete going to come back. So we'll go over this one real fast. So Anna's Return. So like we said earlier, Anna is the little sister of Leah from the first book, who Anna went English when she was like 18. What preceded that was she had a car accident with her English friend. She was driving, hit a buggy went off the road. Nobody was killed, thankfully, but definitely scarred. She never dealt with that when she had the accident. She literally left the hospital, went to her, at the time, boyfriend's house, told them she's not coming back. And that was how it ended. Like, I need to be out here, told Leah this, I'm gonna go away. So, I think it's 3 years. Yes. It was 3 years when we opened this book, is how long she's been gone. It opens to her driving back to, Paradise Valley, whatever it's called.
Pleasant Valley, yep.
Pleasant Valley, thank you.
Yep.
So she's in a car that's barely moving and sputtering, and she had planned to go. I think she planned to go see Leah, maybe, or her.
Yeah, her family of some sort.
Was her mom and dad still alive at this point?
Mom was not.
Yeah, that's right. So mom had passed away. She was gonna go, and she wasn't there for that. Another thing they had to deal with. But anyway, so she had to change her plans because her car was dying, and she went to
She went to go see
Dad. Well, she pulled into what's
Joseph.
Joseph and Myra. So Joseph is her brother, probably one of the younger of all of them. Myra is his wife. They have a little baby named Sarah. Myra and Joseph have his brother lives kind of on the same property, right? Yeah. Because he helps with his shop.
They can see his house from
right. So they're very close. Is Joseph what was he?
Machine.
Like a machine shop, and I did like to hear how they cleverly can use machines without being electric. Yeah. I love hearing those stories, honestly, in real life and in the book. I thought that's interesting.
And that was kind of his main role, was converting machines that use like electricity to the Amish way of life. So that's a big part of it.
I love when like people answer my questions. Thank you. Yes.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the chat's like a few seconds behind. So, but yeah, you're right. It was Joseph. So, okay. So she's sputtering in, pulls into Joseph and Myra's lane. I don't remember exactly. I read this a few weeks ago and just read the other one last. But how's the? Do you remember how they like end up there? Like how the reaction and in the drive, she's like, "Oh, the baby in the back seat." That was just that. Yeah. Were you expecting that?
Oh no.
No.
Oh no. And I thought, oh man, this is going to change the whole
this is
story.
Good.
I already had my mind made up at the end what it was going to with the baby thing. But she pulled into their drive, and Myra and Joseph were not home.
Okay. And I had no reason to believe otherwise. Okay, she went through some stuff. She had her own baby. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Okay, she's coming she needs help. And then the whole thing with the, he's going to find me. I was like, well, someone obviously, I thought maybe it was an ex-boyfriend who was dangerous. Like, that's what I was thinking.
The father of the baby is abusive towards her.
So, like, man, she went through some stuff. So then what happens to the first person to see her is Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because did she put her car in the barn by herself, or did he help do that?
He helped, because it stopped in the driveway, and she didn't want him to be able to see a car in an Amish, and then out of respect, I think a little bit too. Yeah.
Okay, so that's and then Joseph and Myra come home, I guess, pretty soon. Do you want to talk more about like the general? Because it's like weeks ago. So eventually, she sees her family. She gets to know Samuel. We find out that Samuel had left the Amish community too, but we don't know why for a while. Does he tell the audience like his thoughts, but they don't know? I think. Yeah. Like he eventually find out it was because his dad had just left them, which I don't know if the Amish would tell us these questions when we ask them, but like I wonder if that ever happens. Like if an Amish husband or wife actually just leave their family. Like I know it's very common in English families for divorces and separations, like 50% of people. But I really wonder about the actual statistics of Amish marriages. Like I don't know if we ever could find that out, but I just wonder.
It does say, in there that it is very rare for that, because it said the dad was like in his 40s. He was 40-ish and just up and left. Yeah, so Samuel left to go find him, deal with the abandonment issues. And all the while he's worried that he's like him and he should not be married someday. He might be abandoning his family, and he's all that going on. And then I remember the sad thing was when he said that he found him, he thought he'd be miserable, like, and alone, but he was like happy in his new and that just like devastated him. I was like, that is sad. Yep. So anybody else? And also because I think what also triggered his, kind of his disdain for his dad is that the dad was not participating in taking care of the family. It was the wife was working and he was not working, and everything that they had was because of the wife's job or his new family, the new woman. So he was like freeloading off of her. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. So again, like a lack of like respect for your. That's hard. But going back to the beginning when because Anna, of course, talked with Joseph and she wanted to see Dad, but she didn't know how it was going to act, how that was going to happen. So the next morning or whatever, Dad comes and just immediate grace and forgiveness, and so happy that she was back. So if I read a book, it makes me cry. I'm like, check. Like it makes me. It's like it makes me happy to read because that made me cry. Like reading that part of that reunion was like, because of the love and grace he showed her. I mean, that was just precious. It was immediate. He didn't come in and no condemnation, nothing. It was just my baby girl is back and loved on Gracie immediately, you know. And so for like the dad that was disappointing for Samuel, you see a lot of other fathers in these books who are just such good fathers and just loving and wise and so good. So then I don't think, was Rachel in this book at all? Was she mentioned ever? A little, just like at meetings. So I was like, okay. Yeah, because she's, she went to church. She was mentioned there, So not a whole lot.
That's
mostly Rachel's, Leah's friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, because I read this one first out of order. We kind of switched, and I was like, just thought it was weird when I started reading Rachel's Garden. I'm like, it's really odd that we didn't hear about Rachel. But I guess because we had her story in the book, but
yeah,
because it was like later after she had the baby and stuff. And anyway, but yeah, it was neat to see that Joseph and Myra's little baby Sarah was bonding with little Gracie, baby Gracie. Which I loved, and I did love seeing Anna coming to terms with who she really was, because she really found her purpose maybe in Gracie. Like, she just went full force into loving that child and just changing her life for that child.
Yeah.
And where before it was more like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And then it was like, and that's very much a parent thing, you know.
Yeah.
It does. It just changes your perspective totally on life, I think. Yeah. And it was neat to see her kind of grow in that and just do things for the child that maybe she wouldn't have done normally. Even bring her back to the community.
And just for her to kind of, I got it a little bit more towards the end that she was starting to realize why everyone doesn't feel like they have to have all their independence and do everything on their own and be able to make their own decisions. Because when you do have a child, you do not make your decisions for yourself. When you have a spouse, you are not making decisions, and you shouldn't. But knowing that is who she really was inside, learning to make those decisions for Gracie's sake and not for her own.
Yeah, and then along the same lines, her realizing the importance and the healthy aspect of having people you can depend on, and being part of a family and a community who you do things for each other. You make choices that might sacrifice some of your time or your decisions, but it's part of the family and community that I do respect that a lot about the Amish, is their sense of community for sure. Yeah. That we just don't have that. We're just so independent in our English world.
Yeah.
It's just something there's not fostered in nowadays, I don't think. So I love that part a lot of the Amish for sure.
I liked too, one of my favorite parts is how, and they even kind of just dotted it through the book, is that everyone recognized how much Anna had changed, how much she had grown, how much she had matured, and then having that baby really made a huge difference in her perspective. And so I thought that was nice, and how they let her know that they totally can see a different countenance about her and how she's not who she was before.
True.
Yeah. And I think that kind of helped her make her decision in the end too, because everyone else had seen how much she changed, even if she was still doubting that this is really who I want to be. I want to be independent and all this, and it's just like, well, maybe not so much anymore.
Right. And I think you're right. It shows you the value of people that you know and love you speaking truth into you. Sometimes it's good to tell somebody something because they might not see it for themselves.
And it's something that they're seeking, not approval, but a confirmation. Yeah.
That's a good word. I did like the scene when I guess they're all, I don't know where it might have just been a reunion dinner. And is it Barbara, Levi's wife, who's like very blunt?
She's a turkey.
She's like,
she redeems herself a little bit.
Yeah, she does. And I respect that about her. She's quick to say she's sorry. You know, we all have a tendency to be like, everybody has their faults. You know, we have a tendency to be quick-mouthed sometimes. But what'd she say? Like, so, how'd she say it? So who's the father of the baby? Or where's the father? Like, she flat out said it. Everybody's just like, what?
Oh, my gosh.
But, I mean, now, that's when Anna answered that question, that Gracie was not her biological child, that shocked me. And I'm not always shocked when I read books. I was like, this is an interesting twist. And I was like, this kind of does make sense now.
And I was surprised how quick she was to tell the truth, because she was so adamant of keeping this certain storyline. And she, every time it came up, because I find myself doing that a lot, I have this whole spiel that I'm going to say to somebody or how I'm going to react, and then when you finally get in that moment, it's completely different.
Oh, yeah.
And so I related wholeheartedly with her, because I am not going to waver, nothing, and then you get in that moment. And
yeah.
So I was very surprised that she told them so quickly.
I know. Mm-hmm. That was an interesting twist to the whole story, and then things started making sense. Why she couldn't come back from her mother's funeral, because that was when her friend who was pregnant was dying and having the baby, and she couldn't leave her. Okay, that makes more sense, because you're like, man, Anna really is cold, first, and then you realize why she did the things she did, and just the loss that she experienced, and the aloneness she experienced being out in the world, and but sometimes people just need to learn. Some people need to learn the hard way. Some people just need to learn their own way, and I think this was definitely her reckoning of her understanding where she fits in this world and where she should be, and I appreciated her a lot. Her character, yeah. I liked her. She was immature but stubborn and had a good heart, but eventually just started growing up.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
And I think it was a lot about choices with her, because even in our life, you want that independence, but it comes with a cost.
Yeah.
The aloneness, and you want that connection, but it comes with a cost. Just kind of how I'm feeling like that. I'm like, I never get 5 minutes by myself, because you're just always doing something for someone else. And,
yes.
And so, but it's just kind of like, well, what do you want? Do you want it all by yourself, and be all by yourself? Or what means more? What is going to...
Yeah. And then the people who, some people don't have a choice to become a single parent. That just happens to them sometimes. People leave you. And just the support that she got from her family and her community, I think is such a good lesson, and encouraging to those who need... People need community. People need each other. And that's one thing I like about this book, is that it's not always the best thing in the world to be independent. It's actually a good thing to be dependent on people, and vice versa. I did like that about this. But yeah, we all knew. I mean, I don't know about you, Melissa, but did you imagine Pete coming back and how that was gonna look? I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't know how it was gonna look, and I was afraid. And I thought, what's gonna happen? And is someone gonna punch him? But I loved how the dad came in and rescued that whole situation. I'm gonna turn that page. I was telling her about that. I loved how. So Pete shows up in the barn, and I forget what was happening right before that. Was anything important? I guess Samuel had told her parents. Maybe was it Samuel had told her parents about Pete, the danger that she felt like she would be in, and Anna was gonna leave, wasn't she? I forget why. I think she decided she was gonna leave to protect the baby. She was on the way to the barn to. Maybe her car was still there, or wasn't it still there? No, she was gonna leave, and then Pete shows up, and she's by herself in the barn with him, and so she was on the way to go. Okay. Okay, so hang on. I'll just read some of this to you. So this is chapter 20 on page 259. Samuel had told them, and Anna would never forgive him. He walked out of the shop, giving Elias and Joseph the space they needed to discuss what they would do. As for him, this is Samuel, he had already knew what he had lost, didn't he? He had no choice. All Anna could think was to run as she had before. Okay, so at this point, Anna had already decided she was going to run, and then Samuel told her dad and her brother about this, because he felt like she needed help and protected. God had used her running then to bring her home again, where she belonged. Surely he couldn't mean for her to leave again. He walked away from the shop and stopped in the yard, not sure what to do. Maybe he ought to try talking to Anna again. He half turned toward the house, but his eye caught by the glitter of sunlight reflecting off something metal. A car parked at the rutted track that led from the road to the barn door standing open. An icy hand seemed to grip his heart. Anna. He began to run, his heart thudding. The man she feared must be there. He had followed her. After all, Anna and Gracie were in danger. He reached the barn door, thrusting it wider as he went in. The man who stood facing Anna didn't even seem to notice. "Give me that baby," he punctuated the words with his violent gesture of his clenched fist. I'm not going to read all of this, but so they go into this, and he is demanding it, and he's wide-eyed and crazy, and Samuel takes a step towards him and gives her some advice on how to protect herself, and they're talking in Pennsylvania Dutch, and it's driving Pete crazy, which I thought was funny. He's like, "What are you saying?" And So Pete swiveled toward him, and any hope Samuel had of reasoning with him vanished. His thin face was distorted with anger, his eyes wild and dangerous. Samuel held out a hand as he would to a skittish horse, trying to calm him, but his attention was Anna's. And he said, Anna, schnell, which I think means run. Does it mean run? Quick, okay. Mm-hmm. Anna let go of the halter and slapped Betsy's rump, giving a wordless shout. Betsy's hooves scrabbled on the wooden floor, and she lunged toward the open door, baring her teeth at the unaccustomed treatment. So yeah, the horse kind of ran at Pete, and he kind of dodged out of the way. Anna went and grabbed Gracie, but there wasn't time. Pete recovered and came after her. Watch for a chance to run. It'll be all right. Please God, let that be true. Talk English, I said, Pete said. Pete took a step toward him, seemed to gain some marginal control of himself. Found yourself a boyfriend, Annie. He can't help you. You just have to walk over here and give me that baby. Samuel kept his gaze fixed on the man as he would a copperhead in the woods. From the corner of his eye, he could see the shake of her head. Gracie is my daughter, Pete. Her voice is calm. You know that. You signed the papers. You told Janny you didn't want anything to do with the baby. Remember? Yeah, well, I changed my mind. She's my kid. I want her. The law says Gracie is my daughter. And then this keeps going on. The desperation was more noticeable in his voice. You think you could hide from me in that costume, Annie? You always thought you were smarter than everybody. How did you find me? Samuel knew what Anna was doing, stalling for time. Who would come to help? He should have gone for someone instead of racing here. Your friend at the restaurant kept chasing me away. I went back one night figuring I'd best up his office. Then I saw file cabinets. Guess whose job application form was in there? Yours, with the name of some bakery where you worked before, right here in the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah, so right before this is why she decided to run. They saw him in town. Did you see that? Read that part? So Anna and Samuel are in town. She's at the store, and she looks out and sees Pete in like the town, and she freaks out, and that's why she decides she's running. That's what happened. Yeah. Because there's a why you don't even love her, you don't even know her. She's mine, I'm taking her. He flexed his fists. You think the farm boy here was going to stop me? I will not fight you, Samuel said, but I will not let you take Gracie. Pete didn't respond. Maybe his words haven't even penetrated. Instead, he charged towards Anna. Samuel stepped in between them. He could not hit the man, but he could put his body between Anna and danger, and he would. Pete jerked back, anger flaring in his face, then he swung. Samuel made no effort to deflect the blow. Planting his feet, he took it, hands at his sides, like being hit full in the stomach by a horse's kick. You think I'll back off because you won't fight? You're wrong. Pete swung again, this time catching Samuel on the jaw, snapping his head back. Stop it, Anna had anguish colored her face. He won't hit you because it's against our faith. Please, Pete, give Gracie a chance to have a decent life. My kid, Pete muttered. Mine. So here comes the good part. So he's still coming at him. He's hitting him. And Samuel's like telling himself, stay on your feet, stay on your feet, stay on your feet. But he's like starting to go, like a haze is developing, him says. And then all of a sudden, Gracie's screaming. Everybody's worried. Pete had grabbed Gracie and Anna and pushed Anna to the floor. So he has Gracie in his hands. Anna's on the floor. Samuel's on the floor. All of a sudden, those big voices stop, and it's Eliza's voice, like a clap of thunder. Stop now. So Anna's dad comes in and rescues this whole situation. And I just love what he does here. Anna had never heard anything more welcome than her father's voice. She rolled to her side, pushing herself up, trying to clear her head. How do you say it? Do you say Daddy? Dade was there.
Yeah.
Her dad was there. Dad, don't. You think you can stop me, old man? You want to fight? I will not fight you, Dad says evenly, but I will not let you take my grandchild. We also. Joseph was there, clinging to the door to stay upright until Myra slid her arm around him. Matthew pressed close to Dad's side, his young face filled with determination. The four of them filled the doorway. Her people. You can't stop me. But for the first time, she heard doubt in Pete's voice. She forced herself onto her knees. Pete, stop and think. You don't want to do this. You can't take care of a baby. What kind of life will you give her? How will you travel and hang out with your friends when you have to watch a baby? Pete shook his head, his face twisting. Tell her to quit the screaming. I can't think with all the screaming going on. She won't stop because I say so. She needs comforting. She needs her mother. Please give her to me, Pete. No, his face contorted. I'll take care of her. She's my kid. And then her dad says, how will you take care of her? How will you take care of her? The voice was stern. You have beaten an innocent man who would not raise a hand against you. You've hit a woman who loves the child. Is that how you will take care of her? I wouldn't hurt the kid. Just make her stop crying. Pete's voice rose. He shook Gracie. Her crying lifted to a frightened shriek. A fresh jolt of terror went through Anna. Is that what you told Janny? That you wouldn't hurt her? Her heart was beating so hard that it drummed in her ears. Was he hearing any of this? How long do you think it will be before you strike out at Gracie? I wouldn't. But she thought there was hesitation in his voice, and her heart leaped with hope. A father wants what's best for his children, Daddy says. No matter how much it hurts him, he does what is best for them. He didn't press. He just stood there, looking at Pete, his face grave, waiting. Please, God, please. Pete's expression hardened as if he made a decision. He strode toward the four who stood in the doorway, and her heart seemed to stop. He thrust Gracie into Dad's arms. Gracie buried her face in her gross daddy's shoulder, her shrieks fading away into sobs as he cradled her in his arms. Joseph and Myra moved back, clearing a path. Without a word, Pete walked away. A sob shook Anna. She managed to crawl the few feet to Samuel, even as the others hurried toward them. Samuel, you're all right. Stupid, of course he wasn't all right. He let Pete beat him for her and Gracie. His smile was the slightest twitch of his lips. We are all right now. Then his eyes glazed, and he slumped into her arms. So that's kind of the big climax of Pete. So it had to happen, because then he had to move on. And that's exactly what happened. And I think through all that, that's like almost the end of the story. She realizes that this is where she belongs, and she decides to do her vows, and which is neat the way they ended. So that was the big climax and ending, and she just joins the church and is happy about it. So it was neat. And in the process, she did go to the family. She wanted to apologize to the family whose buggy she hit when she was a teenager. And I think it was Myra that was like her family, like her.
I think
someone.
It was Esther.
Oh, okay.
Malin's
You're right.
I think.
And she actually suggested to her not to go to them because she didn't think that they were ready to hear from Anna. And then Anna wrote them a letter, and they wrote them back and said, "You can come see us." And that was a really sweet. That was a really sweet picture too of forgiveness. I thought, especially the mom. At first it was because her child was like traumatized.
Yeah.
But eventually they came to a good understanding. It was a good scene of forgiveness.
Yeah.
So, Melissa, anything that you really loved about the books, or certain parts of it, or that were surprising or not surprising? I guess we all knew eventually she would stay. Otherwise, it'd be a sad ending, right?
Right.
But just the development of her understanding the importance of community and family was good. Mm-hmm. And just letting go sometimes of what we want for the best of others.
Yeah.
It's always a hard lesson. So
I really liked the her and Myra. They became such quick friends, and Anna really realized how much Myra that she helped her, in her life, and especially being able to be there when Joseph couldn't, when she had to go to her doctor's visits.
Yeah, we did leave out the part about Joseph and Myra expecting another baby, and the clinic told them the baby has Down syndrome. Myra went through some stuff. She went into denial basically, and Anna knew that because she recognized it because of what her friend went through.
Yeah,
and she tried to tell people, and I think maybe Samuel believed her at first, or didn't believe, but then he came around, and then Joseph was like, "No, this is not happening." He was in denial. Then he saw it. They got her the help she needed, which I thought I did like that. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to counseling. We've done it in our family, and sometimes you just need another opinion to help you see things. And I like the fact that they had that in the book, that even the Amish get counseling. Maybe they don't, but in this book they did.
Right.
I like that. So that was another process of dealing with something that you don't plan for. You don't plan for your child to have problems. And then the two of them, Myra and Anna, really bonding and helping each other. It was a really sweet friendship. I agree with you. And then Joseph had an accident. So that was when he went to check out the car. Under the car fell on him, and then he was like badly hurt. They came to his rescue. They got him out, or the paramedics came. But it took weeks to get better. So while he is recovering, then Samuel's there more working, and here Anna get closer. And it is nice when I think God puts someone in your life who understands you. Like Samuel could understand Anna, unlike other people could, I think, in a way, because of what he experienced, and him not wanting to come back, but came back for his mom because his mom was dying, and he felt guilty about that too. Like maybe he doesn't really want to be here, but he has to be here, and her not wanting to know she wanted to stay. So a lot of good relationships in this book, I think.
Yep. And she, Anna, maybe for me, but I think she really developed her sense of encouragement for others, because she was such an encouragement for Samuel with his horses, and for Myra to know that she's a good mom, and you know, be stronger in her confidence of a woman. And so I really liked how she, even though maybe she didn't want to or didn't think about it, but that she was a constant encourager for others.
Right. And because she was very self-focused as a young girl, and then she became very others-focused, and just shows you it's never too late to change, and you know, God can work on you at many different times of your life. Hopefully all the time. Melissa says, I enjoyed each book. I felt like I got to know the characters and the families. In each book, the Amish families and friends support each other. Yep. I mean, that's, I don't know about you, but that's one reason I love the Amish community, because they do love each other, and they stick together, and they're just, it's so unusual. Very different than the English world. I feel like we're in a community group together at church, and it's so nice to have a group of people that you can count on. And that you grow with and help each other do, you know, through life, and pray together and slay God's word together. So that's all like a community within itself. Like I couldn't imagine actually life without that community. Yeah,
because even though we're not family, we're community, and
we're a faith family. Yeah. So I do like. Yes, I did. I agree with you, Melissa. It was neat to see. Like I was really excited to read, because I read Anna's return first. There wasn't a lot mentioned about Johnny and how he was doing. So when I read Rachel's Garden, I was like, oh, okay, so good. You know, this happened, and there were still her and he and Rachel were still close, and they had a falling out, and they got better, and then Gideon brought him in with the bishop. I love that the bishop was in on it with them. And then you saw the dad, and he finally, like, connect again. So I was like, okay, good. I wouldn't know how that ended, so I was glad to see that, or at least how it was going, that they were like connecting again, because I think, and the dad said that he didn't want to stop shunning Johnny because he wanted him to come back to the faith. He thought eventually he'll, you know, if I keep shunning him, maybe he'll come back.
Right.
And she's like, he's not coming back. This is his purpose, you know. That he's not coming back, and even his struggle with knowing he's doing something he wants to do, and a purpose, but missing the community. I mean, it's still a struggle. He even said that, you know, I'm happy, but I'm not. But I'm also lonely. Like, he missed that community. Yeah. So, anyway, that's probably enough talking for today. How long have we been on? Oh, yeah. Almost an hour. That's not too bad for 2 books. Yep. So you said you want to read Sarah's Gift next.
I know, just because the way that it ended, I want to know what happens with, because obviously, Sarah, I'm assuming that Sarah is the daughter of Myra and Joseph, so it's got to be something. I'm just assuming that it has to do with the baby that's coming. I was kind of hoping that at the end that they would have the baby, and they would, you know.
They didn't, you're right.
And they didn't say anything, you know. We're still waiting for the result with the baby.
That is the next, that is the next book, Sarah's Gift. So, but I think we're going to also, what's the other 2 you got there, the mystery ones?
Yes.
What are they called? Well, I'll put it on a post, but there's 2 that we also got that the later ones are more mystery oriented, which I like a good mystery. I like crime shows.
Yep. It's just interesting because it's, you know,
it's
a mystery instead
in the
of
Amish community.
Just, everybody's happy and life is good, except for, you know, just miscommunication or whatever.
It'll be interesting to see how they play out. I've never done that kind of book before in the Amish community, so. Well, I hope you all are enjoying your summer. Sorry, reading.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I think a lesson, you know, for me from these books is there's so much inference that the girls that are the main characters, they just think that this is what this person's thinking, and that's what that, instead of saying, hey, is this really what I mean, for me personally in my life,
not making assumptions.
Not make assumptions, that to go and say, hey, is this really what you meant? Is this really what your intentions are? But instead of just making assumptions and then making decisions that probably aren't the best for you or for your family because you assume someone else is thinking, even like that with Rachel and Leah.
I was thinking that happened with 2 best friends, and I mean, it was a complete misunderstanding in a way, and yes, you're right.
Yep, instead of clarifying. Just one more little question would have, you know, avoided all of that, and Yeah, all the doubt that she had. So.
I think that gets easier with age. I think some people, it's just hard as a young person when you're trying to figure out who you are and you're insecure and you're not sure and you don't want to ruffle feathers or you don't want to be hurt, so you protect yourself by not working it out. So
yeah. And when you're older, I don't have time for the drama. I just need to know what the truth is, and let's go on.
Yes, that's a good lesson. That's so funny. So, yeah, I'll post what we'll do, but I think we'll do Sarah's gift, and I don't know when we're going to do this again, because I'm leaving less than 2 weeks in summer, and so probably, I don't know, probably not till August, I'm guessing. Well, thanks for joining, Melissa. Yes, Sarah's Gift is by the same author. It's the number 4 in this series, the Pleasant Valley series. And then we have 2 other ones I'll post as well. So yeah, I was so my favorite series I've ever read of any of these Amish books is by Beverly Lewis. It was called Abram's Daughters.
Oh,
that is my absolute favorite because of what you said, Melissa. Because the characters carry over, you see them developing over all these years together. These 4 sisters, and I love that series.
Yeah,
It's 5. How many books is it? 5 books, 6 books. It's a long series, and it literally is a 20-year period, I think.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to read that and see how they change and it's just a neat series. But that would be a long live stream.
Yeah, and
I just suggest reading it because it's so good.
Yeah.
It's called Abram's Daughters by Beverly Lewis. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's good. And just a little suggestion, if we're trying to buy all these books on a budget, I got these from Thrift Books, and they were $4 or $5 a piece. They're used, of course, and I got them. It said that they would ship 7 to 11 days, and I got them within 3 days. So
good tip. Thank you.
Thrift Books.
Thrift Books. You're good at that.
So,
yep. So yes. Well, thank you guys, and thank you for joining me again. I was glad to hear your perspective on the books. Yes. Okay. Well, everybody stay cool. I'll be in Pennsylvania in 2 weeks. I'm so happy. Yay! I'm so excited. And then we booked a trip with some of our girlfriends here to go to the Lidditz Chocolate Walk in October. It's the weekend of Columbus Day. So I think it's October 8th or something. 6th through the 9th.
Yeah, we'll be there.
We're very excited. So that's in the works too. If you guys have not gone to the Chocolate Walk, we haven't either. It should be fun. So you should go.
And that town was so darling.
I know.
Oh.
Yeah, Lidditz is one of the coolest towns. It really is such a neat town. But yes, Melissa, we'll just do Sarah's gift for now. Then I can post. I'll do a post on here and on Facebook of the other 2 as well. Maybe we'll just do, depending on how much time we have. And I'll just kind of keep up with putting posts out there, let you know where we're at. But sometime in August, probably, I don't know. I'm back committing to these things. And I just
Summer's
it feels
hard.
like there's never enough time. We both had to hurry up and read this last book this week because we were gone different times, and we couldn't get each other the books and switch out. So it's hard for me to commit to time. Sorry. All right. Well, see you, everybody. Bye. Thanks for joining us. Now I gotta figure out.